right now. As you said it does seem like he may have just woken up. He's wearing a pretty fashionable shirt. And
I love what he did in Game 1. He just needs to do it all over again in Game 2. Just with Magnus.
And I was just about to say, are we going to see a 1v3, an opening that Wesley so played in the Grand Final, in the Season Tour Final in 2023 against Magnus Carlsen, but we're not seeing any of that. He starts with the Queen's Pawn opening. And wow, Magnus going, are we going to see a King's Indian by Magnus in this one?
Ooh, well, it depends. Yeah, I was going to say, it depends what kind of mood he was in, but David, you saw it before I could even respond. Do you see Wesley, by the way? He's like bringing up his blanket, making sure that it's sitting nicely on his lap, as we are going to venture into one of the most aggressive openings from the black side, if Wesley allows it to happen, because you can take this into quieter waters if he so chooses.
The King's Indian defense, Magnus only really plays it when he's all out for blood, for victory. I very rarely see Magnus employ this defense when he's happy to just kind of keep things solid, when he just wants to kind of grind it out in a long endgame. This one, only in the biggest of occasions in must-win situations with black usually, so it's a big sign from Magnus to Wesley saying, yes, you got close in round 1, but now I'm going to fight fire with fire and I'm going to come back at you. And Robert, you mentioned taking the game into quieter waters. I don't want to see Wesley, for example, trade off pawns in the centre here. I don't want to see him trade off and get the queens off the board, which he has done in the past on occasion. No, he castles, keeping all the tension. And this one's shaping up nicely. Mainline King's Indian, the way he's going to set up knight to d7, knight to c6, taking on d4. Magnus has played on occasion. h6 is the trendy move here. All the cool kids are playing. I don't understand it, but plenty of choice. Magnus the first.
d4 up to d5, but by releasing the tension, if white in fact does push this pawn, black will move the knight away from f6 and play f5 himself, opening up the king side. So Wesley, he knows that the computer is a fan of this from the white side. He has experience, but he also has experience playing Hikaru Nakamura, who crushed him in one game because this opening
knight on f3, there's more pressure on that central d4 pawn. So finally, Wesley has to take a call. He either captures on e5 or blocks the center with the move d5. David, is there a third option to try to keep the tension going here?
Perhaps a third option would be to use the bishop and guard this square, but I favour your choices there, Tanya. Depending on Wesley's mood, I think the most ambitious, if Wesley's up for a fight, okay, he actually plays the third choice there, bishop to e3. I was going to say he could push his pawn forward. The computer's such a harsh critic, giving that move a question mark, but he could also have taken the pawn off on the e5 and there would have been a bunch of exchanges. So bishop to e3, let's ignore that question mark for now. I think this time we'll give Wesley the benefit of the doubt, but this is perhaps not approved of by computers, because after a trade of f3, Magnus, I think that would be the consistent follow-up. He goes for it. Now, after a trade, he's going to bring his knight out, and this bishop, a bit similar to Robert pointing out in the previous game, Magnus's bishop on the long diagonal, this is going to be the MVP, most valuable piece, and Magnus, yeah. some level of stability, and you can kind of slowly improve your pieces. Unfortunately, it's one of those, it's pure calculation. I just wanted to point out Tanya's move, rook b3. It's the most tempting, and it would be super strong if it wasn't for the fact that white could immediately force a draw with a check, another check, and black's king actually cannot escape from these barrage of checks. So really frustrating for Magnus. You can see that on the camera. And if we go back to the game position, after bishop c3, he's frozen. He hasn't moved. What can he do? I don't see it, I've got to admit. It's really hard to come up with an idea. Knight to h4 instead, he tries going after that pawn on f3, that straggler. But okay, at least he's trying to initiate a race from Magnus Carlsen. And he's given the black king an extra escape square. I think this might be really sneaky if the black king sneaks out via h7, g6, f5 a bit later on. But Wesley, wow, exclamation mark for that move. He correctly assesses that he can just trade everything off. And now after the rook comes back and takes this pawn, g5 is loose, a5 is loose. First he just defends. 2 pawns down, Wesley, so when he's got everything under control. Let's say now, I think he's earned the draw. He's done it the hard way, but he's earned his half point.
I'm loving the way Wesley's handling this complicated position, and you can see the frustration on Magnus right there. I think he missed this idea of Wesley not snapping up that c5 pawn immediately, allowing black's rook to jump into the attack with that b3 square and picking up that f3 pawn. But he just simply sidesteps with the king. It's what we saw in round 1 as well. Wesley with the black pieces sacrificed the piece, went for the most combative option, and Magnus was on the back foot. And it looks like Magnus did everything, created everything in this game, got the maximum, and yet it's not enough. Wesley's defense has been on the active side today. It's more of the offense kind of a defense. I'm loving it.
This endgame here, it's even material at long last, but I think that white may have some good chances because the a-pawn, knights are slow moving pieces. You have to watch out for a passer on the flank. But the f3 pawn, a light square, hard to defend with a dark square bishop. So both sides have their pluses here, and Wesley, he's taking the safest approach, bringing his bishop back, keeping that knight honest to the g5 pawn, and we may see a repetition. So I do think this one is fully equal, but if we don't mind, if we go to the bird's eye view, one of the other games that is still going, that one